I'm Adrienne Giffen, and this is Now You're Talking. Parenting in the digital world can feel overwhelming, especially when you're balancing a career, raising teens and preteens, and trying to keep up with it all. Screens are constant, and sometimes real connection feels out of reach. This podcast is your chance to pause and breathe, a space for stories and insights that bring encouragement, perspective, and the reminder that you are not alone. Building a business doesn't have to mean losing connection with the people who matter most. In this episode, I'm joined with Mark Gillilan, a former conservation biologist, CBD founder, and dad who believes presence is a daily choice. Mark shares how entrepreneurship reshaped his relationship with time, attention, and parenting, and why outdoor rituals, mindfulness, and kindness have become essential anchors for his family. Together, we explore the realities of raising kids in a screen-heavy world, how we stay intentional when work demands are high, and why learning new things alongside children builds deeper connection. If you're a parent, a founder, or anyone navigating work-life balance in the digital age, this conversation will leave you grounded, inspired, and rethinking what success really looks like. Let the conversations begin. Mark, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm looking so forward to hearing your story. And conservation biologist to a guy who's started a company from scratch called Kyoto Botanicals and what that's all about, while raising 2 children and have a spouse and managing all of that in the digital era. So how are you doing it all?
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. It's difficult. It's definitely not easy, but we're managing. Yeah. So, I think the key for me has been, boundaries with myself, boundaries kind of for everybody else. And then, you mentioned being a conservation biologist. I think a lot of what we do as a family to help us connect with each other kind of stems from that. I've always loved being outside. From when I was a little kid, I just would always be outside all day, catching animals, catching bugs, catching snakes, doing whatever, would literally be outside sun up to sundown. Got into biology for that exact reason. I loved being out in the woods, loved studying animals. So did ornithology for a while and then some conservation biology as well. So staying kind of connected to that with kids has been kind of a key piece of it. So we do stuff in the winter, a lot of outdoor stuff, but in the summer we are pretty much outside as much as possible. We do a ton of camping, a ton of backpacking, a ton of water sports, and that stuff. My kids now love it. And I got a teenage daughter that asks to go camping all the time and draws pictures of us backpacking and stuff. So it's just been really, really fulfilling to see them love it too. And just to build that connection with nature. And then while we're doing all that connection with ourselves, because obviously when we're doing that, it is certainly a device-free weekend, whatever it is. And it's amazing.
Well, and so with that love that you have for the outdoors and your career, why the switch to starting your own business?
It was a drawn out process. It certainly wasn't overnight. So I met my wife while I was still doing field biology, and field biology is a very nomadic lifestyle. You go where the jobs are, you go where the animals are. I didn't even have a place of my own for years. I just moved around. So met my wife and we got married, and that lifestyle just was not going to work. It wasn't anything that I enjoyed, anything that she enjoyed. So I became an environmental consultant, so I could have a steady job at an office and still traveled a bunch doing biology work, but was much more sedentary. And, like I mentioned in the intro, I love nature. I love the outdoors. I love animals, and the nature of at least the environmental consulting I was doing was a lot of oil and gas and mine expansion and transmission line expansion work. So basically everywhere I went to do any environmental studies were going to end up being destroyed within a few years. So that got a little bit depressing. So I wanted to get out of that. So I went back to school.
Yes.
Went and got an MBA and then got into marketing, which was really great. Pretty scientific, lots of data analysis. So it aligned really well with sciences. I did that for a while and then started work in this category. And so I work in CBD. So my company is a hemp-derived CBD company, and just fell in love with it from day one, with the way that it just helped people. And it kind of felt like something I had always wanted in my whole life that I had given up on. Doing a job that I could feel good about and get excited about and actually help people was actually possible. So I knew I was going to be doing it forever. So I worked at a company for a while, and eventually they went public, kind of lost the soul that I fell in love with when I started working there. So left there and started my own company in the same category so I could build it the way I wanted to and honest to what I wanted to do.
Well, that's interesting. So what I found really interesting that you said, it's not just CBD, but it's a reminder to slow down, breathe,
Absolutely.
And live your life with more presence. And in this day and age, in the digital era, that seems to be sometimes what's missing. So can you?
Yeah, absolutely. So that all
expand on
stems
that a little
from
bit,
kind of my love of outdoors as well. Nothing slows you down like, camping or backpacking, where there's literally nothing to do but wander around the forest and look at all the small details. And my company was kind of built out of that. So there's a lot of crazy promises out there in the CBD world, making you a better person than you. It doesn't help you be anything that you aren't. It just helps kind of quiet the edges, quiet the fuzzy edges is kind of how I like to think about it. So you can be kind of your best self and as present as possible for when those moments happen. So you're there, you're present, you're grounded, You're not altered, because I do all my stuff THC free. So yeah, that's kind of the premise behind it.
Yes. And you mentioned on your website that it's all about education, or that you believe in education. And clarity and honesty are so key to who you are. How would you educate me about CBD? Because my generation, it's not as common, right? And it still has such
absolutely.
stigma.
It definitely does.
So educate me.
So all of my products are all hemp derived. So still the cannabis plant, still the same plant that marijuana is. But hemp has been around for, 10,000 years as an agricultural commodity. And so basically the kind of high level I like to outline with people is, there's different compounds in the plant, THC and CBD being the two main ones. For about the last, 60 years or so, since pot became a big deal in the 60s and stuff, everyone has been breeding the cannabis plant, to be as high in THC as possible and as low in all the other plant compounds. And then, probably 15 years ago now, I don't know if you're familiar at all with the story of Charlotte Figge, who was the pediatric epilepsy. She was a girl who had pediatric epilepsy, and then 7 brothers out here in Colorado made a mistake, and they bred one of their marijuana strains that actually had very low THC and very high CBD. And Charlotte's family got a hold of it, and she started taking it, and her seizures really significantly reduced. And just an amazing story. So that was kind of the start of the category. So basically, once that realization kind of happened with people, there were certain people that started breeding cannabis plant to be super low in THC, which is hemp, below 0.3% THC, and super high in CBD, other beneficial plant compounds. And that gets to all of the sort of health and wellness benefits of the plant without any of the psychoactive impacts of the plant, something I'm not a big fan of. Doesn't sound like you're a big fan of either, and a lot of people aren't. I don't like THC, never have. I went to college out here in Boulder, Colorado, and even as a college kid in Boulder, Colorado, I did not participate in THC stuff because it does not agree with my brain. I get super paranoid super anxious, can't sleep. It's terrible. So that's kind of the difference between the two. With CBD products, you get kind of all of the health and wellness benefits of the plant that I don't think anybody argues with, but none of the high associated with the THC.
Mm-hmm. So now you refer to yourself.
Yes.
You were a conservation biologist, and now you're a wellness professional.
Just with this company, so just with Kyoto Botanical, so just trying to educate as many people as possible and grow this category as much as possible, because I believe in it to my core, that it will help, if not everybody, certainly a lot of people that don't even know that they have issues with day-to-day stress that are impacting sleep, and snowballing on top of each other every day. So yeah. That's it's just about raising awareness and hopefully taking away the stigma of people hear cannabis or anything related to it and they think high, they don't think wellness. So hopefully flipping that. So in, a decade, whatever it is, when people hear cannabis, they think wellness, not drugs.
And yes. Well, it's things like this or platforms like this that can get the word out. So
hopefully
the more you do that, the more
shifted mind
you'll shift people's paradigm. Yeah. So tell us about what it's like to start a business from scratch and have two children who are probably in their age 14 and 11, probably
so it's
like their devices.
So there's good and bad. I was actually thinking about this the other day.
How do you manage that?
Starting your own, building your own business from scratch and having a family. Sometimes it is an absolute blessing that I would never change for anything in the world. And sometimes it is the opposite of that. There's a flexibility in it that having kids, especially when they're younger, is just, I can do things with my kids that I would never be able to do at any of my old corporate jobs. For example, my kids, when they were in elementary school, I would walk to pick them up every day, and we would walk home, and that would be our 15 minutes walking, where it would just be me and them and chatting about whatever they wanted to chat about. And it was amazing. And it was the best part of my day every single day while they were in elementary school. And so things like that I could never do if I had to drive home and then walk and get them and then get back to the office. So things like that are amazing, the flexibility. On the flip side of that, sometimes there's no, it's a 24/7, 365 job when it needs to be. The 15 minutes walking home from school is easy, but there's weekends where I'm working all the time, and there's nights where I'm working all the time, and there's that stuff. So it's an ebb and flow, and it's a lot of it is up to me just to always remember that ebb and flow exists, so I don't beat myself up too much when I am in those, whichever you want to call it, an ebb probably, when I am super busy and I don't have time to do all the things I want to do with them, that there are other times and special moments like, I'm guessing most kids don't walk home from school every day with their dad, and just remembering that I'm able to do stuff like that with them, and they'll always have that as part of their kind of core memories. And so it's a give and take. It's a give and take for sure.
Yes, and you give and take. And how do you balance that? Because I'm sure you're pulled in many directions, and you probably have to be on your phone. Maybe more.
Yeah, so I am intentional about when I'm on it.
Manage that by being an example of do as I say, not as I do.
Like, I don't do social media. If I'm on my phone, it's either texting with my kids or my wife or work. I do a lot of my work through it. Everything has an app now, so I do a lot of things on my phone, or it's my second screen. Like a lot of people have two monitors. My second screen will be my phone, where I'll be checking email and working on my computer and stuff. And so I'm pretty intentional with it in the evening. So I make dinner. I'm the cook in the house, so I make dinner. So like once I start cooking dinner and it becomes that kind of evening routine, it goes away until they go to bed, which works out really well for me. So I'll typically make dinner. They'll be doing homework at the counter. We'll have dinner. You'll watch a show, or like I said, in a big Clue kick right now. So we're playing Clue right now. So yeah, I don't get on it for whatever that period of time is every night, 3-4 hours in the evening. And then I'll get back on when they go to bed at 9 or 10 or whatever that is, and get my 2 hours in, and then get up early in the morning at like before they wake up, get my couple hours in, they wake up. We don't have any screens in the morning before school. So everybody's doing breakfast and getting ready for school and get them away. So I try to keep it as compartmentalized as possible. And the fact that I don't, other than what I do for Kyoto Botanicals from a social media perspective, I don't do anything personally. So I think that helps a lot. I don't have a desire to pick up my phone if I'm not working, because if I'm with my family, there's nothing on it for me. And so that, I think that helps. I don't know why I don't care about social media, but I don't.
Yes.
I actively stay away from it outside of what I do for this company.
Yes. And it's all about making that choice too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You probably don't have a whole lot of time, but when you do have time to spend with your family, that's the choice that you've made. To just to do that. You mentioned in your notes before we connected, you said you have ways of helping your family feel seen, and you mentioned the walk. How are some other ways that
the camping all the time that I mentioned is a huge one? Maybe. When we do that, like everybody sees everybody, or we sleep in the same tents. We are never more than 10 feet from each other, and that is a huge one, which I wouldn't trade for the world. Like I said, I have a teenage daughter that loves going in the woods and camping, and that is a remarkable feat, and definitely did something right in that respect. What else? I don't know, doing stuff with them, discovering new things together is something else that I'm big into. Like COVID happened and there was nothing to do, which seems like a million years ago now, but we got really into fishing when COVID started, because what else could we do? There's a pond down the street from our house. I'd never been really into fishing before. My kids certainly haven't. So I went on Craigslist and bought some old fishing rods from some guy, and we just started fishing, and we went all the time. My son and I just started climbing recently, so like a year and a half ago. Never had done that before. So I think things like that is something that's really valuable that I don't know that a lot of people do, like learning new things together, rather than like putting your kid into soccer or putting your kid into some activity and watching them. Learning something new together, participating together, is something that we do that I think is really great. And then you can they can see you suck at something too. You're not making them do something you've been doing your whole life. You're learning something new together, so you both suck at it. So I think it's just a more comfortable learning environment for them as well.
Yeah. Oh, what a great lesson that is, because you're teaching your kids to learn a new skill at any age is a positive thing, and it's also being creative too. So you're creative outside of the home. That gives your kids the ability to be courageous. So that's a great example of what can you tell us a little bit? What are some, besides walking? And I keep pushing it because that's one of them, and I'm sure there's more. What are some consistent rituals? You mentioned that. Consistent rituals, and you said walking.
So like I've made,
so coming home and making dinner.
I made pita bread the other night.
Do you encourage your kids to make dinner with you?
They rolled them out and stuff, and so there's definitely participation. There's less nowadays as they get older. So my daughter just started high school and my son just started middle school, so they have a lot less free time in the evenings, which is a bummer. They're off now for winter breaks, and now there's a lot more participation and things like that, which is great because they don't have homework every night. They don't have after school activities going on right now, which is lovely. That stuff. What else? My son and I try to go climbing every Friday night, which we'll see how long that lasts as he gets older and wants to hang out with friends, but I'm hoping to push for that forever. I'm like, Friday night is dad night, but we'll see. I'm a realist. I know that probably won't be true. And so climbing, yes. Absolutely.
Was that another new skill that you and your son learned together? That's a unique perspective. to grow up and learn a new skill together. And what about with your spouse? Do you all four of you are all doing this together?
And there is a lot of chalk involved in climbing, so it's kind of a deal breaker for them.
Wasn't that funny?
But the outdoor stuff, the hiking, the camping, the paddle boarding, all that stuff, everybody. So that's a family affair. That's non-negotiable.
That we deal with.
Not everybody can make it on every trip, but we try to do it that everybody can make it on every trip for sure.
All that. And what's it? So you have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. Your daughter's 14. And what's it been like for you from a?
It's hard to say because their age
raising
difference
a son and raising
such
a daughter.
I think a bigger factor at this point.
Challenges
one being
that are unique
being a girl, just being in high school and being my son just got a phone. We didn't let them have a phone until they got to middle school, and then had the grades to merit it and stuff like that, which they both have. They're both great students. So yeah, I think it's more of an age, like a life stage thing, but we don't do social media. So like my daughter's not allowed to be on social media. So that helps a lot. But we'll see if there's just the difference between a boy and a girl. I don't know if it's just because my son is younger and my daughter's in high school. There's just a lot more, for lack of a better word, drama. And again, I don't know if that's just a function of high school versus middle school or boy versus girl. So we can have this conversation again in 4 years and I'll let you know.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, well,
she talks to us about it every day. That's awesome.
I raised 4 daughters.
And I love that. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And the drama's all worth it to have her come.
Actually,
having your kid come home and talk about what they didn't like about their day at school is such a great moment and a great feeling. I love it. She does. Both of them do it. It's fantastic.
Yes. So she feels comfortable enough to talk to you. And did you and your wife, you made that conscious decision that no devices until middle school? And how do you, because, our kids they're great. They can be, and I won't speak for your children, but they can be great at putting their own perspective forward. Like, Mom, if I don't become involved in social media, I'm going to be a social outcast. And as parents, we don't want that to happen.
So since they were little,
into that sort of trap. How did you manage that?
Screen.
How are you managing?
Always, strict time limits, never allowed outside of the house, that sort of thing. So it's kind of just been something my wife and I have just believed in from the very beginning. So it's kind of something my kids were used to. So it wasn't like a huge surprise. So, not in the morning, 30 minutes after school every day, and then it's time to move on with your day just to kind of decompress, let them have 30 minutes to themselves.
Okay.
So it wasn't something where it was like, they grew up on their iPads and then all of a sudden they weren't allowed to have anything. So it was more like gradual adding of things as they earned it, as they both got older and, did well in school and did well at activities and were respectful and all of and kind, right, is the main thing. So yeah, it's one of those things we're just kind of, it wasn't like a plan. We didn't have a calendar. We didn't have a plan. It's just one of those things where you just layer in kind of one thing at a time. The phone when they went to middle school, and that's mostly just because they're running around with friends now. It's mostly just for us, honestly, not for them. Like, hey, I want to be able to get a hold of you when I need to. Like my son forgets his at home all the time when he's out running around with his friends, which is awesome. But so yeah, it was mostly for us. And then, just layer in, like my daughter's on the cheer team and the cheer team does a lot of their communications through Instagram. And so she now has to have an Instagram account, but like not TikTok, I don't know what else there is. As I mentioned, I'm not a social media guy, but like it's one thing at a time, learn with that thing, grow with that thing, and then add in something else. So yeah, my son doesn't have any social media yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like you and your wife are very aligned. So that's helpful. So words of wisdom, Mark?
Given our kids kind of...
What have you done really well? And what would you do differently?
We've done really well.
Help other parents.
I grew up in the 80s. I didn't in the 80s and all the generations before, I don't think you necessarily had the openest, most emotional relationship with your parents. At least I didn't. I know a lot of people who didn't. It wasn't really a super open relationship. It was like, you do this at this time. You do this now. You clean your room. You do the dishes, right? It was very regimented. So we've tried, I don't know if it's kind of a rebound from the generation we were raised by, but trying to teach them kind of independence and kind of honesty and doing the right thing. And we have a big deal in our house of, just talk about stuff, be open with us, and you're not going to get in trouble. People make mistakes. People do stupid things. I still do stupid things. It happens. But if you're open and honest about it, then that is a two-way street, which I think we do a good job of sharing our emotions as parents, as well as letting them share theirs and make mistakes. So I think we've done a really good job with that, which is awesome. And then balancing, I've always, since I had kids, I've tried to keep, there's the old adage of people complaining at corporate jobs.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to take my work home, but I'm not allowed to bring personal life into work type thing, right? It's just a frustration people have. I've always tried, since we've had kids, to not have home be work. I have my own business now, so home is work, unfortunately. But just having that boundary of
right.
when you're home, you're home. When people are asleep, you can go back to work. Or when I had an office job and I had to work outside of regular office hours, I would go back into work. It's just something I've always done, kind of to have that separation of personal and work. So I think that's been really effective and helped both me and my kids kind of see that when I'm home, and when I'm at work kind of thing. And that's important to me. One thing that I would do differently, that I tell people all the time that have all of my friends, I don't preach about it. I try to tell people how to live their life as parents. But one thing that I started too late, and this is probably going to come off wrong, but when your kids are younger and when they're in elementary school and stuff, play hooky with them. Honestly, do it more. I didn't do it. I was too scared. With my daughter, she's the oldest. We were too scared. Oh, your kids need to be in school. Your kids can't miss school. They can miss elementary school. And the older they get, it is true. The less time you get to spend with them. And once they get into middle school and high school, they actually legitimately can't miss school. They actually get behind and stuff. Elementary school, they don't get behind. So I started with my son last year. Fortunately, I didn't do it as much as I would have liked with him, and I didn't do it really at all with my daughter. And they're young. Play hooky with them. They love it. They get so excited about it. It's so fun.
Yes.
It's a weird thing to say, and that's not saying it out loud. I wish, that's one regret that I have, honestly, and I don't have a ton. I certainly don't have many as a parent. I wish I had done it more when my kids were young and they didn't get behind.
But
can't get any. My daughter would freak out if I tried to pull her out of high school. She'd be like, I can't. I'll miss so much. I'll be so far behind, right? And I'm not here. The point of it's not to lay her anxiety on her. It's to have fun. And elementary school is the perfect time to do that. So I always, if people ask, I always tell them, don't. Those days where they get to play hooky with their parents are days they'll remember forever. And you have so much fun, and it's great. So that's a weird, very specific thing, but it's one thing I wish I had done more of.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that's great.
It oddly speeds up, which nobody's ever told me before. I've always heard time flies.
Archer's probably learning this now, but this time does go by.
Older kids get.
And really before weird. You know it, they're off to university or college or whatever. And it just, it's hard. It does. No.
Well, good.
Yeah, or the older we get, that's what I feel. That's what I really feel.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. Play hooky. I've never heard that before, Mark, but that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for sharing that. May I ask you a couple of questions off of my board game? Now You're Talking. Please. My board game, Mark, starts, in those impressionable years. I mean, that's one category. And just knowing that things that happen back in those impressionable years often impact us throughout our entire lifetime. So it just gives generations the opportunity to talk about different things. So,
man, are we talking?
Let me just see what I'm asking.
Legitimate, like
what
dream? Like I always wanted to be a fighter pilot.
What dream from your high school years have you had to let go, or that you've let go?
You know what? There actually isn't. I'm trying to think, man.
But because I mean, most of us did want to.
High school wasn't
like that.
Super great. I wasn't one of those
we
people
evolved
that
in
was,
a different way.
High school was this amazing time. It was really difficult. I went to a pretty small school and kind of didn't really have super tight groups of friends. So high school wasn't. And when you're at a small school, like you can't move. Like my daughter is doing awesome right now and moving around between groups of friends, and I love to see it. And expanding your group, and my class had 70 people in it. There was none of that. So your life is already kind of written by the time you get to high school, and where you are in the social structure and all that stuff. So there wasn't. It's kind of a weird, depressing answer, but like I didn't have these big dreams in high school other than to get out, and I. Get out, and I did, and I literally left the day after high school and moved to Colorado and loaded my car and drove to Colorado. So I guess, So I don't look back on high school and be like, oh, those were the days.
Did you get out of high school? Yeah. Well, that's
a good one. You know what? Not to worry what other people think.
What's a life lesson?
Quite honestly, and I try to
take forward.
Instill that on my kids. I think my kids are way better than I was at their ages at kind of being myself. Going to a small school was a constant trying to fit in instead of just be yourself. And then as I've kind of gotten older, I've realized people that don't like you aren't going to like you if you act like somebody else. The people that do like you, being who you are, is going to always be good enough for. So don't mess around with that nonsense. Is kind of the big takeaway. The people you want in your life are going to want you as you are, and the people that you shouldn't want in your life aren't. So it kind of is this kind of shakes itself out. If you are who you are and you're just true to yourself and behave the way you want to be, and the people that you should be around are going to naturally be around you, and the people that you shouldn't be around are going to naturally not be.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. What I just see from the short time that we've been able to chat, you've evolved into a career that represents who you are. But you didn't get here immediately, but it took being in your former career, but not having it fit, that you weren't able to truly be true to yourself. Now,
I don't know.
You are. Yeah. So that's fascinating.
I truly don't know. What popped in my head?
What message have you received, Mark, from a stranger?
I can't remember who told it on you. Who told it to me? But it sticks in my head, and it pops into my head probably once a day. It's nice to be nice, and it don't cost a penny. And I'd never heard it until I think it might have actually been my neighbor. Maybe not. Anyway, that's irrelevant to the story. But it really stuck in my head, and I'd never heard it my entire life. And it's the truest thing that's ever been said. So I try to live by that, and it's something that I forget about a lot of times. And like I said, I'm an introvert, and I've had this conversation with a good friend of mine too. And it's something, this is actually good that we're talking about it, because it reminds me I need to do it again, is compliment people, even strangers. It's nice to be nice and it doesn't cost anything. Compliments don't offend people. They actually probably make somebody's day. So your question is super relevant. What's something a stranger said to you? Just yesterday, I told a guy I liked his shoes. No particular reason why, but it popped into my head that I liked his shoes, and I thought to myself, just say it.
Yeah.
He's not going to get mad. He's probably going to be happy about it. And he was. So it's stuff like that, right? And being nice isn't some big thing that you have to do at scale and grand gestures. It's literally if you like somebody's hair, just say I like your hair, and you'll make their day. But it's scary to do for some reason. I don't know why. Yes.
Yeah. Just say your hair. Yeah. Right. Well, that's good. Yeah. That's interesting. And at the same time, you said that you treat your children to be kind. And so really that's what you're doing within your own family. And there's a ripple effect to that. Yes.
Yeah.
Be conscious of that. You're right. I think we get so really caught up in and especially,
it has to be a big gesture. It doesn't have to be a big gesture.
And it can be simple.
Literally just a very
and it can be simple.
Stupid, simple.
We all want the same thing. So that's good. Good. Well, that's great. It's like you're passing your light to somebody else who then gets to pass it on to their.
That's true.
Yes.
Thank you for challenging
one more
on that.
Well,
that's a hard one to do because it is terrifying.
That was a very kind thing to say.
I have actually done it a couple times.
One more question. What advice, because you've gone through this, what advice would you give someone who is looking to change?
It's never something that's super comfortable to do. I would say, obviously do it. I would never, ever, ever tell anybody not to do something that they feel is the right thing to do. But I think what I just said is the key thing. If it is what's in your heart that's the right thing to do, then do it. I think I've done it where it wasn't necessarily the right thing to do in my heart. I just did it because I felt stuck, which is not the right reason to do it. Whereas like this transition, so I got into the CBD space from a corporate world, had never done anything wellness, cannabis, anything related. And I deliberated for 2 months probably before I accepted the position in the CBD category, because it just, in my heart, I just knew it was what I should do. So I would say do that. When I did it in my 20s, I wasn't as self-aware as I am now. And I did things a little more impulsively that I probably shouldn't have done. So I would just tell people, like, take your time, think about it, search kind of your heart. And are you doing it because of that, or are you doing it because you feel stuck and want to change, right? I'll let people decide which of those is the right answer, but it's pretty obvious. So, find your thing, whatever it is, and stick to it. Now, I've mentioned it a couple times. My thing is camping.
Thank you for that, Mark.
I started camping when I was
words of wisdom for other families and then other parents.
And then what would you say? I made my wife start doing it. She never did it. She loves it now. Both of my kids, we just did it when they were babies. Like, we would take the pack and play and stuff. And like, that's just been our thing. That's kind of always kind of run through our lives and run through everything we've done. And no matter, like, as life stages change and schools change and houses change, like, that's been a constant and something we always look forward to and have to do every summer. And, it's different for everybody, whether some people do road trips, some people do who knows what, but kind of find that one thing that you're passionate about and sort of build it into your lives and make space for it and make time for it. It's getting incredibly difficult to do now that our kids are busy and older, but we still make space for it. We just do. You just do. And everybody is like, nope, I'm too busy, and complains about it. And then we get out there and we spend 3 nights in the middle of nowhere, just the 4 of us. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy we did this. Right. So I think that's kind of the one, like, find what's the word? Not like the breadcrumb, like, so you can always kind of find your way home, but find that thread that you can always kind of hang on to every year. You know this, you have older kids, because life gets crazy busy and it's easy to not do the things that you love to do together. So find the one thing and make sure you make room for it and space for it. Of course. Well, I appreciate the time. That's great. That time flew by. Record a YouTube short every single day, and I was
your words of wisdom and for your transparency.
Like 3 weeks of doing it every day, and that's now easy.
I appreciate that.
Nothing is ever as scary as it seems.
My pleasure. Yeah. Well, wasn't as scary as you thought it might be.
Perfect. Thanks, Adrian.
As it seems. Well, that's great, Mark. Well, thank you very much for your time. This conversation with Mark is a powerful reminder that presence isn't something we stumble into. It's something we choose again and again. Whether it's in how we build our businesses, show up for our kids, or create space for outdoor rituals and shared moments, Mark shows us that slowing down doesn't mean stepping back. It means leaning into what actually matters. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to notice when a small shift, a walk outside, an honest conversation, a moment of playing hooky might create deeper connection in your own life. Thanks for listening. And as always, keep talking, keep choosing presence, and keep coming back to what matters most. You've been listening to Now You're Talking. Parenting with a busy career while guiding kids through the lure of screens isn't easy, but meaningful connection is always worth it. Take a moment to start a conversation with someone you care about. It could be the highlight of their day. Until next time, let the conversations begin. Now you're talking.
I'm Michelle Abraham, and we are honored to have Adrienne Giffen's Now You're Talking podcast on our High Vibe Podcast Network. For more High Vibe shows like hers, head on over to highvibepodcastnetwork.com and grab your free gift from our gift vault from all of our hosts. Until then, stay high vibe.